anything that has to do with sales. Tell me more about it.
So when I say anything that has to do with sales, first off, people have a misconception of what selling is.
Mm-hmm.
All selling is understanding and modifying other people's behavior. That's all it is. So when you decide, okay, I want to sell something. Well, first off, don't think that way. What you should be thinking is, I want to help this person. I really want to help this person. So therefore, I want to help them buy. So now I'm buyer orientated, not seller orientated. It's now all about them, not about me. So the moment that you make that mindset shift and make it about the buyer, not the seller, you start realizing that everything they do is behavioral. So you just shift behavior and start changing behavior. So when I say anything sales, really, it's anything behavioral, because that's all that selling is behavior modification.
And that's where the psychology and the sales part comes in. I hear it. I love that you said understanding and modifying people's behavior and leaning towards knowing what they want and giving them what they want pretty much, rather than what we really want. I guess the thing about it is not many people get into business as just for people. They really, truly want money and profit. And so how do you go about ever having a client that's like, I'm not really caring about what people want. Like, I want money. And I think this is the best product that will give me my money.
Well, first thing I'd say is that they're not going to last very long, because all that's going to happen is they're going to burn relationships and their reputation's going to get burned, and they're just going to have to keep cycling through clients, which gets very difficult and very tedious very quickly. We all know that the first step of gaining clients is normally the most time-consuming and often the hardest thing to do. So what we do is that we adopt long-term relationship-based approaches, which makes that investment process not only more time efficient, but also more financially effective as well. Another thing I'd say is that those people are doing it all in reverse. They're short-term, they're selfish. They're being selfish.
Yeah.
The best way that I've found to sell is being short-term selfless, totally short-term selfless, and long-term selfish, and being very open about that relationship and saying, look, I want to help you. The way I help you is by trading this thing called currency for services. And I will always do what's in your best interests to ensure that you get to your goal. Even if sometimes I have to A, tell you that what you're doing is wrong or ineffective. B, say, I don't think I can help you. I'm going to refer you to someone else. Or C, doing what I believe is in your best interest, even if you don't think it is. So it's about being truly courageous, really.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say.
And opening up and just truly, like you said, being courageous and honest and letting them know where you're at. I think that also builds a relationship as well, honesty and communication and truly being open. So when you have someone and you're knowing that they have a goal, I see that you state that you are helping businesses get to 100K a month.
Correct. So typically we start at 10K because so I particularly help automate AI automation and AI companies that are just starting up, because the tech people really struggle with having those initial first conversations. What's my offer? What's my ICP? Blah, blah, blah. They really struggle with that because they're tech people. They're not sales people. They're not people. You know, they go into their little hobbit holes of technology and they code away. They're not used to having those conversations. So I help them first get to 10K per month. My offer there, I do what's called a Godfather offer. A Godfather offer is a deal they can't refuse, which is if you don't get up to 10K in 6 months, recurring revenue, I will pay you 10K. Do everything I ask. If you don't get there, I'll pay you 10K.
Okay.
That's how certain I am about it.
I like that. How long have you been in business?
I've been in business now for 5 years, going on 6 years. I started out coaching. I did a psychology degree. Then I went into politics. Left politics. Went into coaching. Then after coaching, I went in to start my own AI company. I scaled that up to 100K monthly recurring revenue. I exited that company. And then now I'm just spending my time, A, enjoying myself,
Yes.
B, coming on beautiful podcasts with beautiful people like you, Javanka, and C, doing sales consulting and helping businesses grow, scale, do better, perform better.
And now that things are a little bit different, you're going into your 6th year. Tell me about your vision for your company.
So, number one, I would say that a business is a way in which we can self-improve.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It is the vehicle for self-improvement. Now, you can make a load of money without self-improving. Like, I've met loads of people who are big and, very, very large stomachs, and they're making loads of money because they filled a gap in the market. But truly, it's a vehicle for self-improvement. So my vision for my company is that not only can it continually help others, but also it can be that vehicle for me to self-improve consistently. I'm very much agnostic. I'm not one of those people who is totally in love with a niche or totally in love with a way of doing business. Mm-hmm. All that matters to me is this going to be a challenge? Is this going to help people? Is this the way the wind is blowing? That's all that matters to me. So I don't have a business vision. I have a personal vision, and that is a vision. That's a purpose. Right?
I'm gonna ask this. Where did that vision come from?
My personal vision. So my big vision that's going to happen, 40, 50 years from now, is that I want to create a philosophy which enables human beings to become multiplanetary. Because the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, etc., they're doing the physical physics to get us into orbit. But what about the culture? What about Martian culture? What about what's going to be this philosophy and the psychology that's going to motivate human beings to do and be all that they can be? We have an opportunity to detach from the earth physically, mentally, emotionally. There's so many things that we can actually get rid of or retain in that moment. And in order to do that, well, guess what? I need to become a great psychologist, need to become a great salesperson, need to become a great philosopher, need to have loads of money. I'm 26, so that's the vision. That's what I need to do to get there. That's what I'm doing.
Wow, you're 26. Kudos to you. And I cannot get off this show without telling you how cool your sweater is. I super love it. I love it.
It's nearly Christmas. It's nearly Christmas. Like, you've got to be Christmassy,
I'm telling you, even if it wasn't, I still love it. And every time I look at it, I'm just happy, I'm just super happy. So that's a good one. And that makes all the sense in the world. 40, 50 years, we still have to have that thought process of how are things changing? What is a business going to look like then? And how do we, I wouldn't say, I don't know, do you think, you know what, I'm gonna just ask the question. What do you think is gonna happen with AI? What is it gonna be? What's gonna happen with it?
Well, firstly, I'd say that we need to change the question, because we know what's going to happen with AI. It's an inevitability. The only thing that's constraining AI at the moment is its lack of energy, physical energy. Yeah. That's what's constraining the energy grids, can't sustain it. Yeah. Well, we're fixing that by getting modular nuclear reactors. The likes of Microsoft and Google are getting modular nuclear reactors so that they can feed into their AI system and give it energy. Yeah. So that means that AI is going to progress into AGI, which is general intelligence, and it will be able to perform the tasks of a human being much better than a human can. We've already seen that robotics are on the increase. You've got Elon Musk releasing his X robots, which means that AI is going to be able to, instead of learning via language model, which is what it has been, it's going to be able to learn via tactile experience in the world, which means that you are going to have AI, which is totally 100% in the world and can not only perform everything a human can, but can think 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times faster and more effectively than a human can.
Yeah.
So the question isn't what's going to happen with AI. We know that. The question is what's going to happen with humanity. And when you think about it and you go, okay, we're moving into a world of pure abundance, genuine pure abundance. And that does not fit the business model of the present or of the last 2,000, 10,000 years. It doesn't fit because Tony has a job because Tony is making a thing that Josephine wants.
Yeah.
Tony is paid for the money that Josephine earns from what she does, which then feeds Tony, blah, blah, blah. And it's just a cycle of more money going around.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you've got robots that can perform all of the functions of Tony and all the functions of Josephine. So not only do they no longer need to have work to have a job, because they're redundant.
Yeah.
There will be what we're going to pay the robots, nothing.
Yeah.
So what's the point of having a business in the first place to provide service without the financial incentive? So these are big questions that we are going to have to answer because we're going to still want service. We're going to still want McDonald's. We're going to still want to have beautiful books and have beautiful experiences.
Yeah.
But our current economic model doesn't sustain that. That is the question that we're going to have to wrangle with over the next decade and a half, I think.
Yeah. And you know what's so interesting is since you told your age, I'm going to tell my age.
Mm-hmm.
I am 45, and I tell you, I guess I just didn't see this coming. You know, we've talked about so much in the last 20 something years, so much, and it never came to fruition. I'm not sure if you were aware of the 1999 and then 2000, everything was just going to crash and going to go out, and we were supposed to party like it's 1999, but we were all in fear. So since it did not occur in that way, in my mind, as you speak, Ash, I'm just like blown away because, 20 years ago, it was big cell phones and pagers and so now we're talking about AI and it taking over and not necessarily, well, actually somewhat replacing them. So when it comes to AI, how can AI tools enhance rather than replace the human connection?
Do you want the honest answer or do you want the answer that's going to sound nice?
Hey, I want the honest answer.
It can't.
Yeah.
It can't. That's the answer. So as you know, I'm in the world of AI automations and AI tools, right? And I speak to AI business owners all the time, and they're doing automation and everything else. And I, at least 4 to 5 times a day, I will sit and they'll try and convince me that they're not replacing jobs. They say, no, we're not replacing jobs. We're just replacing tasks. Okay. Yeah. Well, what's a job? It's a person doing a number of tasks.
Yes.
So just accept that you are reducing jobs in the workforce. Just accept it. And not only should you accept it, you should also be happy about it. And here's why you should be happy about it. You are releasing people back into the job market who now fully understand that everything they do is redundant, which means that they now need to reskill. Because think about the number of jobs which are just pencil pushing, bureaucratic. Like we don't need them now. We generally don't need them. It sounds horrific to the majority of people who hear this, but I'm sorry, you need to reskill. You do not add anything that can't be done by a robot or an AI. Now, at the minute, you can reskill. I think we've got 20 odd years before we really start seeing robots seriously affecting everything that we do. We've got that kind of runway. Which means that inevitably, what is going to happen? Loads and loads of people will be out of work because our current economic system will no longer function the way it does. It will change. And if it doesn't change, we're going to live in some sort of weird dystopia because the powers that be don't want to let go of their power, which will lead, I think, to some sort of civil war or a war of some kind where all the power changes hands and everything else. And that will mean that we will come together. Yeah. Because in crisis, we come together. So right now, very disconnected. But in the long scale of things, I think we're going to be closer than we ever have been. 20 years from today.
Wow. And so when you were talking about it, just like totally came into my thought process of being relieved of duties and tasks will allow a person to, I think the thought that I had was what you said earlier, continue to help others and self-improve. So if you're replaceable by a robot per se, then I think the other option for us to do is actually to go and figure out what more we can do to be better connected to people. And that's exactly what you were saying. So as you were talking, I was like, okay, I could see that happening. But I think in my mind, I think it's a little scary if you ask me.
No, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. It really, really is terrifying. And if you look into the psychology of universal basic income, so the people who really like universal basic income say, "Oh, people can now do whatever they want to do, and blah, blah, blah. It's all wonderful. It's all great." The majority of people on universal basic income, they don't do anything. They just consume. They just stop working because the majority of human beings are consumers. And they have no interest in creation. They have no interest in higher pursuits. All they want to do is consume their bread and circus, and just exist. That is the majority of people, genuinely. I think that if this mass movement and this mass change came tomorrow, I think that 80% of people, maybe more, would lose their minds and would break down completely. Seriously. I'm not, because how work, their jobs give people so much purpose.
Yeah.
Performing a task for another human being gives people so much purpose. If you suddenly say to them, "Oh, by the way, you no longer need to perform that task, and not only do you no longer need to perform it, a robot can do it 10 times more effective than you, and not only is it 10 times more effective than you, now that we've completely reconfigured our entire system, the job itself is no longer needed at all." And a person has always felt that their job is part of them, they would lose their minds completely. And you'd have that with 80% of the population, which means that 80% of the population are going to be depressed, 80% of the population are going to be without a purpose, 80% of the population are going to be without a reason to carry on. What are they going to do? They're going to consume. So my big fear, my big fear, is that we're going to move into a complete dystopia. Not a 1984. Is it George Orwell's book? Is it called 1984? I think it is, isn't it? Yes, I think it's called 1984. We're not going to go into a 1984 dystopia. Mm-hmm. We're going to move into a Brave New World, which is a dystopia where it's pleasure. Pleasure rules the day, that we have pleasure which fundamentally controls people. I think we're going to move into that in a worst case scenario.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.